What is going on, YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review the next album and the Christmas albums I'm reviewing for this year as far as those pitches going to happen. Basically, this project is by Jim Jones and Skull Gang, and basically this project is called Jim Jones and Skull Gang Present a Tribute to Bad Santa, starring Mike Epps. It's a Christmas theme kind of compilation album here, and it came out in the fall of 2008. So basically, back in 2006, Jim Jones did a Christmas album called Dipset Xmas, which was a pretty good fare. I particularly liked a number of songs off that joint. Had some good stuff on there, good concepts within the context. Had a single on there in the We Fly High remix, which was a pretty big deal. This one's a little bit more straightforward about it. But I noticed about this project, I hadn't listened to this project in the past. I at least knew about the first Jim Jones Christmas album from 2006, but this one I always wanted to get this one, just never got around to it. There's some good packages. I could have reviewed this way earlier in the year because I was going to review it last year, but I just didn't get to it in the Christmas time for that year. But waited till this Christmas season, held on to it for this particular Christmas season. But the aspect about this album, I would say this album would be a classic if not for the disdainful conduct about it. I feel like it is an excellent album here just within the pitch. And as a bonus, it has some Mike Epps skits. He's pretty funny comedian within that pitch. So he has some good stuff. I didn't listen to the skits on here. Maybe one day I might do those, but I look after it. So in addition to getting like a Christmas themed album from Jim Jones and the Dipset crew minus Cameron, I'd have to say Jim Jones and the Bird Gang crew, Joel Santana and the Skull Gang crew, some of those type folks, Freaky Zeke, some of those type folks on here. Everyone in that relative fold for the most part minus Cameron, like I was saying. But the product about this particular product is just the fact that it came out around the 2007 2008 recession, and particularly it seemed like that recession from those particular years hit this collective pretty hard, or at least the concept of what was going on. Now typically I did not see as much conduct from that in like the 2000s, or at least the 2008 type products, 2009 type products around this particular fair. There weren't too many Christmas 2008 products here as far as those pitches kind of happened. It was just an extra kind of bonus content because typically not most rappers complained about the recession as far as those pitches kind of happened, at least the late 2000s recession. So it's just a different kind of appeal, but you look after just within the tone. This is not as much of a cheery project as much as the Dipset Xmas from 2006 is. There is not a single on this project. On top of that, Jim Jones is really not on here that much. He's probably on two songs where he lays verses and then helps out with the chorus on one. Joel Santana is kind of sprinkled in on this project, and I'm glad that Freaky Zeke was on here as well. I want to say he was in prison for the Dipset Xmas when that album came out in 2006, but he is at least on this particular one. Some good type fare, but it's just the particular concept that is just in a more kind of crummy type mood than what you'd probably want for this particular expectation. I mean, I do think the thrills of what was particularly going on has some good fare. I mean, luckily there are some joints on here that have some good boisterousness. I kind of feel like there's some album cuts on here just within a Christmassy kind of holiday season type format that works towards it. It's not completely where the mood is like the whole time, but there's a number of songs on here, or you may listen to some of these and realize that it just kind of takes it from the perspective as if you're really kind of scumming along for money and pitches like that, as if you're like living hand to mouth and are damn near broke, having to rob and get towards stealing and some of those type pitches just within that fair. I just particularly look after as just kind of within the context. I mean, I wouldn't have to surmise that it was probably that horrible just within that context. I mean, there is some possibilities within that context, but it just kind of takes it to like the fair of just like the concept. That particularly happens to be the aspect. So I mean, this is it like the songs I recommend on here out of 15 songs on this particular project, I wound up recommending 13. Now, normally that would get a 10 out of 10, but I just feel like the altitude, me expecting to listen to this, but I mean, for the most part, when these sorts of instances, when you hear standard rap albums where they talk just about shooting people or robbing people, some of that type of it's just within the conduct. I think within a relative type sense, if you're looking to get stoned, get torched, some of that type fare, if you have enough money in your pocket within that relative sense, you appreciate the holiday season. It's just basically like a slummish and ghetto type version, some of that type fare of just like more typical kind of Jim Jones and Dipset kind of big city type fare. I'd have to say it's just within the aspect that if you don't drown out like the full blown lyrics as far as those pitches kind of happen when you are getting stoned, smoking a backwood, something like that, and you notice that this is not as jolly as what might come to be. It just is kind of within the tone behind that. So I would say it's not as much like a smoker's toolkit as much as a Dipset Xmas kind of is, but I do think within a relative aspect, like you'll notice on this particular product that there's not really, I mean, there are some dance club songs on here, some good songs get ladies twerking, some of that type fare, but I just look after just within the tone. It just doesn't have the normal kind of enjoy eggnog kind of grogginess, just a little bit more kind of like, hey, just a little bit more like, hey, money is kind of tight, just paying attention to that factoid more so than the general kind of frivolity. It was just within the tone. If you don't notice, it doesn't have that aspect as much, but it's just kind of a tone to kind of have. So basically, the only two songs I don't recommend on this project would just be All the Things I Want and Jingle Bells. So basically, All the Things I Want is just a particular type one. This is just kind of a starry type one, just the composition behind this one. I do like the fact that NOE was on here a number of times. He's the cat that sounds similar to Jay-Z. He's been affiliating with Jim Jones since 2007. I don't know if he still does nowadays, but he was a big cat that was on like the Bird Gang album from 2008, Harlem's American Gangster, some of those type of ones, other like Pray for Rain, some of those type of projects that had to say, but it's just within tone. It's good that he's on here and Freaky Zeke's on here, some of those type folks. But I just look after All the Things I Want. It's just kind of a more peppy type one, just to kind of, it's kind of a quick living type one that I don't know. I mean, I feel like normally they would have nailed these particular vibes a little bit more, but it's just a little bit more of a dreamy type one, just fantasizing more so than the aspect of actually the execution of how they nailed it. It's just kind of a little bit more just sell you a dream type one that just didn't have like the sort of appeal behind it. I mean, it had a relatively glitzy type beat, but I just didn't vibe with it as much. Then Jingle Bells, I just didn't like the composition of this particular one. I mean, I like the aspect behind it, but it just kind of felt like a typical kind of bougie woman on this particular song, as if you have to be doing the stuff on this particular song to have females of this caliber within the aspect behind it. It just felt a little bit kind of taunting within the aspect of kind of rubbing it in your face as far as the aspect that this is how you get a hot Christmas, just within the fare behind it. Felt like, I mean, if you hop on Instagram or something like that, you can find standard bellas that are kind of like this, but it's just within that tone that this was some of that pizzazz, like the bouginess way back in 2008, as far as those fish kind of happen. Just didn't enjoy it that much. But yeah, so basically, normally I'd give 13 out of 15 songs on this particular album, like a 10 out of 10, just judging by the fare that I usually give an album about 3 songs once they have about more than 15 or so songs, a 10 out of 10. I look after it just because of the relative composition, just kind of the flex concept behind whether or not the recession was truly as terrible or whether it was just trying to imply a message or just kind of be a little bit more kind of like kind of trying to be a little bit more in like a scolding type territory. I would just narrow the score down to like a 9.5 out of 10. But I look after it just within the tone. I look after some good stuff here just within the context behind it, but it's just kind of the concept in terms like the feral type bops on here. I do feel like this album probably needed like a gems. I mean, I like it. I mean, this is definitely Jim Jones didn't have to do this project because he dropped like 2 other projects in 2008 as far as those pitches kind of happened. The Bird Gang album and Harlem's American Gangster, as far as those pitches kind of happened. Joel Santana dropped the Skull Gang mixtape, so some good type fair to get this bonus type package. It actually is 15 songs filled with Jim Jones and Dipset S type content here. Skull Gang, Joel Santana, Freaky Ziggy, some of that type fare. Just with an aspect, I'm surprised that they didn't put out any sort of single, just give this any sort of promotion, drop a music video, something like that. Because I would have said some of these songs towards the end. I think Bird Gang Christmas would have been a pretty nice one. Probably say Baby Keep It Here would have been a pretty nice one. 12 Days of Christmas would have been a pretty nice one. Some of these type fairs. I mean, there are some decent bops on here. Christmas Song with Joel Santana would have been a pretty good bop. There's some type tones. I mean, it does have like the club junts on here as far as those pitch kind of having some good type conduct. It's just kind of within the tone. That just kind of goes through the motions a little bit quicker. This was kind of like a secret type project that just probably didn't get the promotion that it necessarily needed. But like I said, 9.5 out of 10. But yeah, we'll just go through these songs. So basically, the most popular song on this album is Christmas in the Ghetto. This has approximately 700,000 plays on Spotify. It's like a throwback to like mid 2000s kind of mixtape Don Cannon-esque stuff. DJ drama type mixtapes with like a Christmas slum type atmosphere, just ghetto-ish type song, just kind of in the aspect of it. It's kind of some ambience like the slum type mentality. If you don't have a lot of money around Christmas time, just kind of the aspect, just kind of saying, hey, Christmas isn't going to be that great this year as far as those pitch kind of happen. Just the ambience of this, maybe smoke a zigzag or two. It's kind of within the pitch, get some basic kind of Taco Bell, just kind of enjoy the times, just in a winter type aspect. This would have to say, just kind of within the fare behind it, just kind of basic kind of traverse. I mean, there are some. The surprising thing about this product, more so than the Dipset Xmas, it has a little bit more makeshift. Like the one from 2006 was a little bit more of just fleeting around, kind of figuring out this, heading to like homies' houses, ladies' houses, pitches like that type fair cruise around. But this one's a little bit more of just kind of more, not necessarily full-blown blue collar, but just the aspect of realizing that it's not as much. There's frivolity on here, but it's also the aspect of saying, you do have to have something to report to in terms of making money as far as those pitches can happen, which I just didn't see as many makeshift songs on the Dipset Xmas. So this is kind of what the tone. That's the most popular song. The second most popular song on here is Intro, and this is one of the few. Both of these songs are the only songs that Jim Jones is really on where he drops a verse. Other than that, the rest of the crew kind of handles it on here, but still some excellent type fare. Intro is like a cold bite kind of Christmas hustle song, I'd have to say here. It's kind of some evening outings, kind of get supplies, kind of routine fun to kind of have just within that tone, just a night stroll type one. It's just like a standard Christmas carol. I don't know the name of that particular song, but it's just kind of one of the more dramatic type ones. Forget the name of it, but it's kind of some commerce like the winter brush. It's kind of the concept of this, going for like a snack run, some of that type stuff, getting like a Swisher, some Jack Daniels, some of that type fare, just would have to say. It's another good makeshift type one if you do need like some holiday type music, but you want it without like the standard kind of this pizzazz of just like the kid-centric stuff. So this is just one for more of listening to Christmas music in a more rap type sense for Hustlers makeshift. I'd have to say it's good type tone. So some other ones on here. Probably one of my more favorite songs on this album would be Baby Keep It Here. This has Freaky Zeke on there and some other cats, but I look after this like a feeling zapped. The song's like a feeling zapped, kind of groovy strip club and social commute of a song kind of get. Just basic marinate in a nightclub type appeals about this one. It's a good song to chat up to and just ham it up as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just a good type tone. This feels like something that Cat Williams or one of those type folks would do. Cat Williams, Too Short, some of those type folks just within the tone behind it. A little bit more pimpish, I'd have to say, just from the aspect of strip club and gentleman's club kind of sludge as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just a basic nice one kind of have, just in like the pink neon, some of that type fare as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just good type appeal. Christmas song is a pretty quality one. This has Joel Santana on here. There's like a nice bass thump about this one. Just a minimal time, like a minimal kind of dance club heat, I'd have to say, just like Pop Champagne, very similar to that particular song. Pretty good wine song for the ladies as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just a slow wine, just stripper pole type music, I'd have to say for that. Just good type tone for that, and just a good song to get turned to, I'd have to say. Good, dope enough concept. Merry Christmas is a quality one. It's like a drowsy and floaty kind of holiday noise to kind of get here. This feels like standard ambience just within a row of lackadaisical type tone. It's like a lackadaisical, this is like a songs like some lackadaisical kind of ambience. I'd have to say just eggnog type music. Definitely it's just some woozy fun to kind of get here. So yeah, like I said, a lot of these songs are kind of dealing with like the Christmas holiday when it's not just like nightclub songs, like at least the night outings and the dance club songs, the twerk songs, some of those type ones have a little bit more pizzazz about them for just stunt nights and pitches like that. But when it's actually more about like the Christmas times, more family centric pitches like that, it's just a little bit different tone where some of these just recognize that money's kind of tight and this is within the tone as far as saying like it has a little bit more beleaguered type feel and a little bit more drowsiness about it. And this is one of those type of songs. This one's not as much like Merry Christmas, it's not as much like a nightclub song. It's just that standard drear about it, I'd have to say. Christmas Like This is a quality one. It's another slumish type one. It's like a real talk, kind of out and about type song, kind of get here just in the night commerce. Definitely some winter makeshift, I'd have to say. Good song to smoke a few. So yeah, that would be my recommendation. Just the concept if you do have to, or if you need some music to kind of listen to on like a ruffled day, bad hair day type fare as far as those pitch kind of happen, this would be some excellent type ones for some of that. Great type fare, just basically 3-6 Mafia type commerce. A lot of these, like I feel like songs like Christmas in the Ghetto in certain senses, Intro, Christmas Like This, some of these type ones. I want to say there's at least another one for that sort of fare. It's kind of have the aspect of a little bit more, just hit up like your favorite spot, get like some Burger King kind of standard fare, but it's just within the concept of just situating, plotting your next move as far as those pitches kind of happen, just within the tone of just getting money together as far as those pitches kind of happen, just within the winter makeshift, just kind of a more kind of just more complainive. Trying to think of the word for that. Complainive. I don't know if that's the word. More complaint centric type times for those pitches kind of happen. Just a little bit more of an aspect where you're just kind of having ruffled times with just kind of melding out as far as those pitches can happen. Not just smoke to cope. I would definitely recommend some of those type tones just within the fair. But it's just these are some of the songs where I talk about where the ambience. I mean, I don't think is full bound when 3-6 Mafia would do these songs without the Christmas type fare. That was just within that conduct. It's just something to pay attention to, just to have for extra recommendation to enhance it. I'd have to say probably for a lot of these, I'd say It's Christmas Time is a quality one. This takes it to like the mixtape type fare of what was going on like the late 2000s and early 2010s. It's like a great primer for like some club step out. I would definitely feel like you're just feeling nice, kind of enjoy the holidays and like just kind of enjoy the holidays and some fare like that. This is like a good flip mode type gem to kind of get. So I would feel like this is amongst the Travers just within the pitch, just feeling good. Where it has some good times as far as gonna step out some. And yeah, It's Christmas Time just feels like a late 2000s kind of Young Money song pitch like that. Something from Nicki Minaj, Lil Wayne, Drake, some of that type fare, just in a typical kind of mixtape type stuff. Kind of like a hustle not quite a hustle song, but just almost like a promo type song for just like the enjoy it, just kind of switching. Just got done with maybe work like an hour and a half ago, some pitches like that. Just gonna step out and just kind of the embrace of figuring out what's gonna happen in the holiday season. Good tone for that. Got to get that's a pretty nice one. This is like a tipping kind of dance club hopper. I would definitely feel like here. This kind of reminds me of like 2006 Jim Jones. Really too bad he wasn't on the song. I definitely feel like it's a pretty large complaint that Jim Jones was not on this album that much. He definitely should have been on here a lot more. There are some ones on here I feel like he would have felt just right at home at. Songs like Bird Gang Christmas would have been a nice one. I think definitely Gotta Get That would have been a pretty nice one. I just think the pizzazz about this particular product would have been some good type appeals. Now there is at least a song on here. He is on It's Christmas Time, but I just look after he's only on the chorus on that particular one. He probably should have dropped the verse on there. So I just feel like Jim Jones kind of slighted this project somewhat, but I do feel like some of these, like there's some good dance club, nightclub songs towards the end of this particular project, and a lot of these they lack like the folks that probably should have been on there. No NOE for the most part, no Joel Santana, no Freaky Zeke, no Jim Jones, some of those type folks that let the other cats kind of handle it more. They definitely probably should have came through. I feel like if you're paying attention to more like the big names, that might slight this project as well, because it's just not the aspect. You get like a full family affair, and not the big names are not on every single song. Like Joel Santana, like he was on like the Skull Gang mixtape, is not on every song. It's not on every single song on here. Freaky Zeke's not on every single song on here. NOE is not on every single song. Jim Jones definitely isn't. So it's just within that fair. But Gotta Get That is a pretty nice one for that. He definitely should have been on here. There's like some definitely there's like some songs. I can't remember the one, but it's like I want to say it has like a chick named Juju on the song. One of those dance club type songs that was from Hustlers POME. I might put it in like the connotation, but this is like a stock kind of social antics type song. Kind of get here, just some good concepts for that. Pretty icy type tone, just with the pitch behind it. Just good type fare for that. Real nice appeal. Bird Gang Christmas is a pretty bopping type one. It's like a glaring kind of night pizzazz of a song kind of get. Just a typical kind of night out in like the winter. I would definitely feel like big city. There's definitely some big city kind of quick outs to kind of have. Yeah, Bird Gang Christmas is just a nice one to get wired to as far as those pitch kind of happen. Just red eyes type music, have some smokage in your system. Good type fare for just the out and about and like the type pizzazz about it. This one's not as quite holiday centric. It's just basically like a song to listen to in December and January as far as those pitch kind of happen, but good type fare. 12 Days of Christmas is a nice one. Though. This one's a real surprising one. This is just like one of those songs that was on like a Dipset Xmas that was just kind of like a standard kind of rap throwaway from Hustlers POME. That was just kind of one that didn't have to do with Christmas as much. I mean, this song has to do with Christmas, so it's just kind of within the appeal. It's just a very glaring type one. 12 Days of Christmas is like a woozy kind of evening haze here, I'd have to say, contemplative, and it's a good song to smoke up. Just a real talk type song. Just kind of some work life kind of smog kind of have. So this is another one, although this is one of those type ones I was talking about with like the recession in mind as far as those pitches kind of happen just within the tone of just having, or it's kind of just some ruffled days or ruffled months as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just bad hair day, just kind of aggy, just pitches like that, just kind of having to make do in some pitches as far as that particular type fare. Just keeping on type music as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just smoke an L, just kind of appreciate the times, just kind of get towards it. Definite good recommendation. I mean, it's just a good type conduct. Definite good type conduct to have some stress relief as far as those pitches kind of happen with it. Just excellent type fare. You know, Swishers are pretty cheap. Swishers are pretty cheap, and Backwoods are pretty cheap just with the excellence behind it. Definitely get some Burger King, some of that type concept stores those pitches kind of happen. Just as I say within the tone, it's just some good type fare. Better Not Cry is an excellent type one as well. It's like an out on the town kind of standard night embrace. I'd have to say here, just grab some goodies, smoke a few with like a cold brush as far as those pitches kind of happen. The standard kind of hop to it just within the pitches as far as that particular one goes. This just feels like one of those type ones that you'd listen to that Jeezy would kind of do on like the inspiration, that just feels like a production that would be by the Justice League or one of those type folks. One of those type of Jeezy inspiration type beats as far as those pitches kind of happen. Feels like a beat by like the Runners or Don Cannon, one of those type folks. DJ Toomp, some of those type folks in particular. Good type fare to kind of get some of that. So it just has some good conduct on here, I'd have to say. I want to say there's like another one on here. On the First Day is a pretty quality one as well. I think this is probably one of my more favorite songs on here. I'd have to say it's like a glittery kind of creep around. I'd have to say in like the night cold wind. I would definitely feel like this good snack run type music, smoke a zag, something like that. Just get some red eyes type fare, just smoke pretty nice, and just overall type feel good. Just some standard night antics. I'd have to say just a good concept, kind of laugh it up, ham it up, just some pitches like that. Enjoy like just the standard night commerce, some of that type fare, homies type music, smoke a couple zags, like I was saying, just good type fare, watch some Jackass, some of those type fares, just stock shows like that. I'd have to say good concept for like some sniggering as far as like the night commerce in like December. So it's just some good type appeals for that. Trying to think of other songs I haven't talked about on here. I don't know if I talked about Christmas Eve. I think this might be the last one I haven't talked about, but Christmas Eve is basically like a glazed kind of evening makeshift, I'd have to say. Real somber kind of city Traverse, I'd have to say here. Just an icy tone, I would feel like I was talking about with some of the minor complaints about this project. It's like a standard day as far as those pitches kind of happen around just the particular times of that, and just a good song to get some goodies to. I'd recommend just make supply runs, some of that type fair, pick up some stuff, some stock type stuff. So yeah, Christmas Eve is just kind of within that tone as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just a product of just a product of like the album's mood as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just kind of a slummish kind of the product of like the slummish kind of shit is real type tone as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just the grit and just the standard. The thing about this particular product is it doesn't have as many hustle songs as far as those pitches kind of happen. It's just more about the product of just kind of the grit of getting through it more so than stacking money up and being like, all right, it's time to build up some games for. I mean, you would think like some of the, I know that Jim Jones, when he named one of his previous albums, Hustlers POME, this is a little bit more of just kind of marinating kind of in like the sluggish kind of dredge of it more so than trying to make rounds to changes. Just not as much of like optimistic, like Tupac kind of IDGAF type tones that he would have in the past. Probably needed some of that on this particular album. Just kind of marinates and sulks a little bit more than like the tone behind it. But I look after the tone, there is some dance club hops on here, so it's just within the pitch. So I look after just within the fair behind it. So 9.5 out of 10. The social score, that's kind of a different type aspect I'd have to say. I'll probably give the social score maybe like an 8 out of 10. I feel like within the pitch, there are some good gems on here. Like some of my favorites would have to be like Baby Keep It Here. Some of my more favored ones would be Baby Keep It Here, On the First Day. Some of the songs towards the end, like Bird Gang Christmas, Gotta Get That. Some of those type of ones. Possibly even in minor senses, it's Christmas time, some of those type pitches. But it's just kind of within the tone. It just has a little bit more Aggie and kind of at your throat type tone that's just within the pitch behind as far as those kind of fairs kind of happens. Just not as comfortable this time, I'd have to say, but it is within the aspect with there not being a single. I mean, the Dipset crew is here for the most part. They do have some good appeals and just the aspect behind it, but this has like a different tone and attitude as far as that particular kind of goes. That there is like some relative jazz about it, but it's just not within the aspect as quite as frivolous and just the aspect of having like some real. It just kind of feels like more of just like kind of a negative Christmas more so than like a positive one. This doesn't have like the standard furor as far as like the hype behind it, but you know, and within a relative preachy type sense, it kind of detracts from it because I feel like it's almost kind of like a satire or something as far as those pitches kind of happen. It's just within the tone. You just take it to what it is. I mean, the music is good on here, but in terms of something that's going to get you standing on couches and really excited, this pitches where you're just having a manic type time and just really exhilarated. It has the dance club songs on here, but it's just in fewer supply. I'd say it's just within the tone. So in terms of the future, like Jim Jones has put out further projects. Skull Gang is not really around as much. Joel Santana has the occasional project. He kind of does mixtapes more nowadays, but with this being a tribute to the Bad Santa movie that came out in the early 2000s, this is before the sequel to that movie, but it's just within the pitch. It's a good concept, kind of have this spin-off type compilation album here as far as those pitches going to happen. It is excellent stuff. It's just kind of the tone of the project. This is kind of somewhat off-putting, I'd have to say. Just more of a turn-off as far as this pitch going to happen. But I look after it. I do like the tribute to what happens. I'm sure the Mike Epps skits would probably be pretty funny just within the tone as far as that particular goes. It's clever. It's original. It just has those aspects of just delivering upon something whopping. Probably would have gotten a 10 out of 10 if it would have had a little bit more upbeat typeness. Not to say like the moroseness is a problem. It's just kind of the tone as to like the way it's just more the complaints of what happens in like the job life more so than the actual aspect. I mean, because you know, morose songs, Eminem makes those songs, Tech Nine makes those songs, but this is kind of more scold like that. This is the main problem behind it. But I just look within the tone. Virtual classic here, excellent type fare. Needed a single, needed more Jim Jones, some of that type fare, but it virtually is a superbly excellent Christmas album.